Hello, my name is Leah. I'm a spiritual mentor and counselor, and I just wanted to take a few moments to introduce myself to you and the work that I do. So, just a little bit of a background is I do a lot of work with trauma and grief. And of course, as you can imagine, someone who does work with people who have had a lot of trauma and a lot of grief have also had that in their background. So, that is me. And so I've had some trauma in my childhood. Without going into too many details, I had some losses too, some big losses. So I've lost my mother and I've lost my father. And then after that came my biggest loss, which was my 17-year-old daughter who died by suicide. And she's my first daughter, so the one who changed my life for the better in so many ways and was my driving force, was my motivation. She was the one who gave me the determination to go to school as a mature adult, to get a university education, to get a couple degrees. So I have a master's degree in counseling and an undergrad degree in psychology. And then I got busy, had my three girls, and of course, kind of avoided a lot of things that were going on for me on the inside most of my life. Rtea, when she was born, my first one, of course, she changed the direction of my life and gave me the confidence to make a lot of changes in my life. But I still was pushing things down emotionally, kind of getting busy, staying in the external world, avoiding the internal world, while knowing I had a deep, deep interest in human behavior, my behavior, and others. Always, because even before I went to university, I was a bartender for many years. Again, listening to people's story, understanding where they come from, why they do what they do, all very close to me, but I was projecting it outward into other people. So I could touch my own trauma enough through other people, but not really take it in to transcend it into something bigger. So a lot of counseling that I did in the past was around focusing on other people's trauma. And that's what a lot of helpers do. And then when my daughter Rtea was 15, the Reader's Digest version would be that she was a very confident young girl going places, lots of dreams, lots of big dreams. And as she entered high school, she found herself in a situation where there was alcohol involved. And she was left alone with four males. And those four males raped her and took a photo. And that photo was shared in her community and in her school for 17 months. So while we were trying to get her the help she needed and justice to be served, and all of the things in place for someone who has been traumatized, trying to get her the help she needed. So as you can imagine, her trauma impacted the whole family dynamics, and the whole family was traumatized because of this situation. And she really fought hard. She fought hard to stay here. She fought hard to get back up. But unfortunately, that photo kept showing up, and the harassment and the targeting was too much for her at that such a young age. And when she died by suicide, of course, that put me in a completely different trajectory of my life. And so I had a lot of dark nights of the soul, very much so. A lot of dark nights, a lot of darkness. And thankfully for me, I was able to find my way. So first I found my way through yoga. The yoga path brought me inward, and I was able to really walk with my emotions, to feel my emotions, to be friends with them and hold hands with them, and find the moments between the pain where I can be pulled in the direction of healing by setting my intentions. And it wasn't always pretty, and it wasn't easy, but I was able to go to such places that I could speak to my pain, speak to large groups of people about my trauma, and start teaching workshops and run grief retreats, and really by diving really deep inside my own soul to excavate, to let things let go of me, to transcend all of this pain that was showing up in my body and manifested as fibromyalgia. And then that journey and where it took me for my health, and loving myself layer by layer by layer, and not allowing those stories, those pain stories, to take me down into such a place that it crushed me. Because life isn't meant to crush us. It's meant to take our pain, learn our lessons, share our wisdom with other people. So now, what inspires me most isn't so much about going into places where I used to go and speak about sexualized violence and what happened to Rehtaeh. What inspires me these days is showing people that there's a way. Showing people that there's a way to heal your trauma, regardless of what it is. And I know there's so many people out there that are spiraling in pain stories of regret, of guilt, of sadness, of not being understood, of feeling isolated and alone, and nobody gets them. And I'm telling you, I felt all those things. And then I wake up now with deep love and gratitude in my heart. And when pain comes, and it does, I walk directly towards it and embrace it. And that makes all the difference in the world, and how I show up in the world, and how I show up for me and my family, and how I walk in this life. So I do a lot of grief counseling. I do a lot of what I call soul sessions, where we work with whatever the pain story is. It could be grief. It could be just disappointment in your life, in yourself. It could be mental health struggles. That we have this sense of knowing that we can go inside ourselves, and the tools are all in there, and I can guide you and help show you that what you need is within you. But sometimes we do, not sometimes, always, when we're struggling, we need other people to see in us what we don't see in ourselves. We need people to help guide us towards these rooms in us that open up, so that we can step into our life in a different way and take our pain and transcend it into something meaningful in our life. Because that is what we're meant to do. We're meant to grow and evolve. And whether you call that God or Jesus or the universe, spirit, or your just inner guidance, your inner self, that sense of knowing, that's what I want you to get in tune with. That is the big picture. That's always the missing piece. Trusting that life is guiding you where you need to go. And when we start trusting that process, and we start walking towards things that nourish our soul instead of crushing our soul, we will find a way. And we will find that our load, our emotional load that we're carrying, gets a little lighter. And then we start loving ourselves in a way that we never have before. So that's what inspires me these days, is to help other people on this path. And we all get stuck sometimes in our spirals, in our pain stories. We all get stuck sometimes, and sometimes we need someone to help guide us. And that's what I do for people now. I help guide them on their way so that they too can have the life they're worthy of. Because we're all born, and we're all born with joy and happiness, and that's our birthright. So that's what I do. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook. You can email me, leah@rehtaehparsons.ca, which is REHTAEH, parsons.ca. You can find me on Facebook. And yeah, I'd love to connect. So reach out. This is just an intro video. So if you don't know me and you don't know my story, you don't know where I come from, this is the Reader's Digest version of my experience, my story, and I'd love to connect with you. Okay, thanks.